everyone, welcome to the GM show. It is Judy here again, and I hope you're keeping safe. I hope you're fine, and I hope you're taking things easy, especially in this season. Today I'll be talking about an episode I call Adulting and its Shenanigan. I don't even know why I called it that, but maybe you'll discover very soon. Before we start, I'll take a quote, and I have two here. I said that in one episode. I should stop saying I'll take a quote because I end up taking like two. First one is by Nicholas Sparks. It says, "It happens to everyone as they grow up. You find out who you are and what you want, and then realize that people you've known forever don't see things the way you do. So you keep the wonderful memories, but find yourself moving on." This next one is in line with what we want to talk about, and it's by Patricia Briggs. It says, "One of the oddest things about being grown up was looking back at something you thought you knew and finding out the truth of it was completely different from what you had always believed." Like all those shocker and spoiler alerts that we always get. We'll jump right in now, and I want to begin by saying this: I hate criticism so much. I really do hate criticism. I don't know how to receive one, and I don't think I know how to give one very well. I have always wondered why, because most times when I get criticized by people, it takes a really long while for me to shake this feeling off. And in my pondering and with what I know now, I can trace it down to like a number of factors. While growing up, I was that child that spoiled things. I was that child who broke stuff. You just have things fall from my hands. I really did not know how they happened actually. I could just be holding something this minute and the next minute it's on the floor and it's in pieces. Growing up, I was really scared of using breakable things. I was scared of touching them because the next minute it's like I go into a trance or something and it drops. Then I was this fat kid. I was fat, like round. Right now I think I have, thanks to puberty, thanks to like the height and all that, but I was really short and round. I was not like in the best place. I would say this affected my esteem in a lot of ways because we're in a society where body shaming is like the norm and you get labeled by what you do. I think a child getting labeled by what they do while they grow up is really bad for their self-esteem, especially when what they do is wrong. Considering the fact that I broke stuff, I got the label of being someone who destroys things and all that. Unconsciously, this sank into my memories. Growing up, whenever I do anything wrong and I get criticized for it, or it might not really be something wrong, but it might be that I do something and someone doesn't really buy into that idea, I really take it to heart. I find it so hard to forgive that wrongdoing, in quotes. The way I grew up sort of conditioned my mind to think that, okay, anyone who criticizes you is the enemy. Now I know that that's not the case, because to grow, to develop yourself, you have to take some form of constructive criticism. Like I said, I'm learning, and adulting involves unlearning, learning, relearning. So everything comes into play, and I have discovered that the way I grew up sort of shaped my primary love language. And you will not be surprised to hear that my primary love language is words of affirmation. I actually never really knew the effect of everything that happened then till I had to face the outside world. I think that even had an effect on me. It made me to always seek perfection in what I'm doing. If I do anything now, just be sure that I did that thing to the best of my ability, because I never want to hear a negative comment. So after trying my best to do something to the best of my ability, and then I now get a negative comment, I don't take it so well. Okay, I should say I did not take it so well, because I'm actually getting out of this right now. So I really did not take it so well right now. Trust me, I can talk about this comfortably now because I am dealing with it, and I've dealt with it to a certain level. But there were times that I could not talk about this without tears filling my eyes. There were times I could not talk about, okay, I'm really not going into deep details about it, but me mentioning the fact that I was a child who broke stuff, I was a child who destroyed things, I was a fat child, me mentioning that it affected my self-esteem is not really something that I could talk about before. One of the signs of you knowing that you're actually dealing with something well is when you can actually really communicate it with other people and state what lessons you're learning or that you learned in the process. Like I said, I never really knew the effect of this on my person. Like going to university, started working for teams, I started working with companies, and I just found out that whenever someone has a fault what I do, I just feel so bad. Like I feel really, really terrible. If people say something to me, it takes a while for me to shake the feeling off. Like I have to constantly tell myself, oh Judith, stop feeling this way. Oh, you're not this, you're not that, you're not this label this person is trying to put on you and all that. So it's a lot of things, it's a lot to deal with. That's why I'm like, whenever you are with a child, let's say a stubborn child, or the child is not really meeting up to expectations, whether you're a teacher, you're an uncle and auntie, whatever relationship you have with this child, just be sure that you do not place a tag on this child, because this child is actually evolving and you've actually not seen the best version of that child. It takes me a long time to actually shake things off. I find myself always wanting to hear, oh, you're doing a good job, always trying to seek validation from people, always wanting to people to compliment me and all that, and it was so unstable. Imagine living your life based on every comment you hear and you get from people. That is so much instability in like one person. Like I found myself having mood swings here and there. Like someone says something, you're happy this minute, next minute you hear another thing, you're sad. It's just a lot to deal with. I never knew I had this baggage until I had to like work with people and interact with a lot of people. It took me a while to realize that the values I had that influenced the way I felt was actually inherited, like was imposed on me, and I've unconsciously become like a makeup of my environment, a makeup of things that have happened to me in the past. I didn't like this. Having the mood swings up and down, it was not pleasant at all. I had to do something to change this narrative. I always see myself as someone who is growing, who is becoming. If there's a better version of myself, I know that I can be that, and I always aspire to be that. I know that on this journey I am not perfect, and I don't think anybody is perfect, but I feel like we're all striving to be a better version of ourselves. You might not even be dealing with criticism. You might be someone who is a people pleaser because all your life growing up you were surrounded with people who just wanted to make other people think good about them. Or it might be that you have a very bad spending habit because you were surrounded by people who spent a lot of money, people who did not save. I feel like we all have something we're dealing with now that has its roots in our growing up, and we just have to look into it. I'll be sharing the 3 steps that I used in looking into my hate for criticism. First, you have to recognize that this is actually a problem. For many of us, you might not really know unless you have to meet other people. You might not really know that you have this problem, but once you do, you have to recognize that it exists. Do not fight it. Then you have to accept it, like accept that okay, this is a problem. Do not live in denial and say, oh, that's just how I am. That is one of the enemies of change, saying okay, this is just how I am. No, we're all evolving to become better versions of ourselves. So you might have something you're dealing with now, doesn't mean you will deal with it in the next 2 years. You can always get better, but you have to accept it, you have to recognize it, then you have to deal with it. You have to understand, okay, so where is this coming from? So this, my hate for criticism is coming from the fact that okay, maybe I just have a lot of baggage that I'm not ready to face. I don't like people telling me things that I don't want to hear. I want everybody to have my own opinions and all that. You need to deal with it and say, okay, fine, how can I help myself become better? What can I do to become better? For me, when the opportunity comes to work in teams, I always go for it. I want to hear from people, and when I find out that I get a comment or I get a constructive criticism and it's really hard to accept, I remind myself of this fact, okay, Judith, you know that it's hard for you to accept criticism. This person is not the enemy. This person probably wants you to do better. If you see this person as the enemy, you would not do better. It takes a while. Like, it's a journey. Initially, it could take me a week to get off a comment someone says. Gradually, when I recognized that it existed, when I accepted it and I began to deal with it, from 7 days it became 5 days, 2 days, 3 days, and now I can comfortably shake off feelings in minutes. I just have to keep talking, like practice the self-talk and say, no, this is not who you are. You're someone who can accept constructive criticism narcissism, you're someone who can deal with it. You do not live your life based on feelings. You do not live your life based on what other people say. It's the journey. There are bad days that I still have to deal with this like a whole lot, but I can say that I am making progress, and if I am, I feel that you can do the same. You just have to be conscious about it and understand that this exists. Understand that it exists and do not fight it, accept it and deal with it. Always remind yourself that I am on a journey to become better. I am on a journey to become a better version of myself. I am not perfect. Alright guys, thanks so much for staying with me on this episode, and I sincerely wish that after this episode you take out time to think about some of the things you deal with, some of the habits that you feel you have that you could actually change, like bad habits obviously, things that you're like, okay, so maybe it could maybe not even be something that happened to you while growing up, but just remember that our values are inherited. Like things we do, what we're becoming, most times you're not conscious about it. Your environment keeps shaping you, keeps shaping your mind. Be determined to identify things that you're dealing with and how you can do better at them. Like, how can you do with it? How can you get better? It is my prayer for you to become a better, in fact, the best version of yourself, but you have to do the work daily. Did you know birds need gravity to swallow? That means if a bird is, I think, upside down, they might not swallow. I'm thinking that's what that means, but yeah, did you know birds need gravity to swallow? Till next time, keep living. Thank you so much for staying through till the end. Bye.